It is October, and that means one thing. It's Preptober. Hi, if you're new around here, my name is Melanie Steele and I write all things cozy. My debut cozy fantasy novel, Lunar Quartz Library, is coming out. I'm going to tell you a little bit later, but there will be an announcement date in this vlog. So, Preptober, what is Preptober? For those of you that are familiar with NaNoWriMo, Preptober is basically taking the month before that sort of writing challenge to get ready for it. Now, obviously, NaNoWriMo no longer exists, and I am doing Sarah Cannon's Rough Draft Challenge instead, which allows you to basically set your own word count goal for the month of November. And it's just a much easier way to do it because I don't want to write 50,000 words in a month. I never wanted to write 50,000 words in a month. And obviously the best way to succeed with writing any kind of bigger project in that short time scale is to plan and prep, hence Preptober. I have got my Rough Draft Challenge planner right here, and we are going to be going through this together. I'll be doing a few pages for each vlog, and the entire vlog series this month is going to basically be the Preptober Diaries, so that I can take you with me as I start planning the next book in my cozy fantasy series, which I am very excited to be doing. So let's go get some coffee and then let's dive in to the first few pages of this. And after that, I do have a release date announcement for you for the Lunar Quartz Library, so stay tuned. Okay, so we're going to dive right into the planner here. Please excuse me knocking the tripod, not the last time that will happen in this little segment. So first things first, I'm deciding which tier that I want to work towards, and I have selected Emerald, which is to write 10,000 words, and that is the kind of lowest tier on this particular challenge, and I'm circling it in green just because. Next up, we're going to work our way through the noveling checklist, which is basically just a collection of various things that you need to consider before diving in. And one of the first sections on here, unsurprisingly, is time. So I've got my Erin Condren planner up here. This is the current week at the time of filming, and you can see that's all set up so I can see what I do and don't have available. I don't have anything else set up for the rest of the month because I only plan 1 week at a time, but I'm just leafing through in case looking at any of those dates jots anything in my brain and I know that I need to make an adjustment to my schedule. The only two things are the 31st, which is Halloween and my wedding anniversary, and the 30th, which is the Lunar Quartz Library publication. The sprint calculator is basically just helping you work out how long things are going to take. Based on the fact I write 600 words in 25 minutes, I only really need one sprint of 25 minutes per day, but of course I will be doing more than that. This is my task block calendar, and you can see I devote 9 to 12 each day during the week to writing, and I just have other times blocked off that I will not be writing at all. Everything else is kind of fair game, just depending on what I am doing day to day. So I'm ticking off all of those sections from that part of the checklist. Next up, I believe, is the rewards planner, just so you can decide what you're going to use to keep yourself motivated throughout the month. And there we go, there it is there. It's been divided up into 5 sections for I think 5 separate weeks. Based on my goal of 10,000 words, I'm basically just going to divide it into 2,000 word increments. It is not until I get to the end of this page that I realised I had in fact done this completely wrong, and it should have been 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, not 5 lots of 2,000 words. I'm blaming it on the fact it's oddly warm here in October and my brain was not quite functioning. But give me a minute and I'll realise what I've done, and we're going to go back in and fix it as best we can. We're just going to kind of go over it with the pen and make it look somewhat better and somewhat more in line with the goals. I don't have all these goals figured out yet, and I couldn't kind of come up with it at the time of filming, but I know the last goal for actually finishing this is to buy a new Erin Condren planner direct from the States. Not very cheap, but absolutely worth it. I'll figure out the other ones in due course. Back to the checklist, we're going to be ticking off the rewards section. Okay, moving into the next one. This is about tools. This is my story Bible, and it's definitely a tool I will be using and indeed updating as I move into book number 2. It's where I keep all of my kind of essential information about my story and my characters. It definitely needs a lot of additions as I finish the book. I haven't quite kept up with it, but that can certainly be a part of my plan over the month. A lot of other things in this checklist are things I already have in place around health and tools, etc. So I just kind of tick them off, don't really need to do anything. The last section on here is about community, about joining Facebook groups and writing groups, etc. And you'll see in my next clip why I have just ticked those off right away. Okay, so I have gone through the noveling checklist, which is more of a kind of general checklist before actually getting into prepping the particular story that you are working on. It was kind of fun to go through and see how much I had already set up. So there wasn't too much really that I needed to do other than thinking of rewards. I'm still not quite sure what I want to do for my sort of intermediary awards, because I decided to split them up into every 2,000 words because my goal is 10,000. I'm pretty sure I'm going to write more than that, but I'm someone who does better with setting a lower goal and going beyond that rather than setting the bigger goal and feeling like I'm going to fall short of that. So I set my aim here and then hopefully go beyond it. As you can see by the kind of sprint calculator, I obviously have much more time than one sprint a day, but I've based that sprint number, my kind of words, on a best case scenario. So again, I've just kind of built in a bit of buffer time. So 10,000 is my kind of base level. I don't think I'll make it quite to 25,000, but maybe somewhere in between is where we are going to land. I guess we just have to wait and see. But most of this I've already got done, just because obviously I'm working like each and every day on my writing anyway. I did have to redo a new task blocks kind of schedule calendar because my old one I had initially done when I had a part-time job. So over the weekend I just quickly printed that off and did a very basic, these are my hours for working, these are my hours that I'm doing, you know, chores, household stuff, etc., just so it's nice and clear and obvious for me to see, and I just have it on the wall over there to look at. I think the prep your writing crew section, I don't tend to write with other people. They say writing is a solitary profession. I kind of like that about it, to be honest. I know people, they like to be, you know, in groups and stuff, and I'm a member of the Facebook group, but I don't actively write with other people. If I do kind of co-working sprints, I prefer to watch them after the fact. I'm just not a big people person. I like being in here on my own writing. I don't find it particularly lonely. I don't have this strong desire to go find a group of people for accountability or to do sessions with. I'm just quite happy here on my own. That's just me, whatever works for you. Obviously next up is actually going through the checklist in terms of prepping the novel. I am going to certainly go through this, but filming overhead was proving very difficult. So I think I'm just going to talk you through it instead. Before all that, I did promise you a release date in this vlog. So drum roll please. The Lunar Quartz Library will be released on 30th of October. So not long now at all, and just in time for Halloween. Now, of course, if you're on my email list, you already knew this, but now we can all share the news together. I will be putting it on my Instagram on the Friday after this vlog goes up. And then anyone who wants to know knows the date it's coming out. So it's so close out and I'm so excited to share this with you. But let's get back into prepping the next novel. Okay, so notes all done. So now I can go back into planning mode. We have lost the sun today. It is completely cloudy. This room does not have the best lighting. I've got the overhead lights on. You can kind of see the reflection here. I have my big ring light that I use for my Tuesday videos on, but it's not super great. Something I need to think about going forward into the winter months, but for now, this is as good as it's going to get. Briefly, before we go back into the rough draft challenge onto the next checklist, which is more about the actual writing, I just want to do a quick reading update. So you'll remember I was reading Rewitched by Lucy Jane Wood. I finished this. I love this. This was delightful. Just the sprayed edges in case you didn't see that vlog. Definitely going to be picking up the sequel. Well, it's a sequel, but in a sense it's in the same world, but it's not a continuation of this story. It's called Uncharmed. I will pick that up at some point, but honestly I have so much cozy fantasy on my bookshelf right now that I cannot justify buying anymore. I need to get through what I've got before I pick up any more, or I will never ever finish them. So I moved on to another one that has been languishing on my bookshelf, and it is the Baby Dragon Cafe. I know, Emma, you said you read this and you found it a bit cutesy. So I've read like barely any pages, a few pages. I get what you mean. For me, I haven't found it overly cutesy, but I found the writing feels a bit young, if that makes sense at times. I think the author of this book is not super old, doesn't say, but she certainly looks like she could be in her early 20s. The main character in this book is only 25, so it feels a little young at times, but I'm going to stick with it because I think, you know, it's going to be like a really cute, sweet story. But I understand what you're saying, but I want to get to the end because it seems like it could be very nice and cute and uplifting. And obviously I'll give you more feedback once I have finished it. I haven't got it here, but I did pick up Bury Our Bones in the Midnight Soil in a complete 180 from anything that is cozy fantasy. Because I really do enjoy V.E. Schwab's work. Addie LaRue is just, it's one of my favourite books ever. I know the kind of what this book is about. Some people have been going into this book with very different ideas as to what it actually is, so I know full well what I'm in for. As much as I like a good cozy fantasy sometimes, especially this time of year, I'll read the odd thing that's a bit darker, a bit moodier, shall we say. To be honest, it's been sat there a week and I haven't picked it up because I'm just kind of trying to do all of this. But I will try my best to pick it up at some point, but I am no doubt going to have to renew this one from the library because I'm a week in and zero progress. So let's put these books away briefly and come back to what I was actually here to do, which is move on to the actual rough draft challenge checklist. As I said, kind of filming overhead was proving a bit problematic, especially since I am now using the ring light to provide sunlight here. So I was just going to talk you through it. So the first section is about prepping your novel, and it's split into several points. So the first point is deciding which project to work on. Already done, I know exactly what I'm working on. The next point is character sheets. Book 2 is obviously going to have the same characters as book 1, but there will be possibly some new characters as well. I'm going to actually do all this. I'm just reading it through first and then we will go in and address each point. But I would say, you know, mostly done, but obviously 1 or 2 characters and possibly a character from the first book who will become more prevalent in this story. The next one is color coding, but that only applies if you're writing a book with multiple POVs, which I'm not because I find them quite confusing to read. It's not my favorite. So we're going to skip over that one. And then next point is outlining your main plot points, which I will be obviously doing over the course of these Preptober Diaries. Other suggestions are to do index card scenes, which is something I did with the first book, but I didn't keep up with it. There are a lot of cards in that little thing. I've got it here, I'll show you. So I have all my kind of scene cards in this little photo thingamajiggy. But I didn't keep up with it and I don't know if I really want to try and do that again, so we'll see. Research, any research you need to do your novel. I would say largely this has been done, and research for me is just, you know, things like, because crystals are quite prevalent in my book, although I'm using my own kind of artistic discretion as to what all of these crystals are and what they do and what they mean. I have been kind of researching what these sorts of crystals are generally considered to be useful for, so that it's grounded in reality somewhat, but obviously it's been embellished for the purposes of telling a magical story. Beyond that, world building and cover art. World building, again, largely done. I will just be expanding certain parts of it. Cover art, the lovely Georgia is on board to do the rest of the covers for the rest of these books. So I would say most of these points are covered, and ones are not, are more a case of I just need to embellish and build on things from the first book. The last few things are just about prepping your space. Again, I would consider this all done. I'm writing here. I have my nice gaming chair for ergonomics. I do have a thing for your wrist for using the keyboard as well that I need to dig out. And just about creating a inspirational place with good vibes. I've got candles, I've got a wax melt. I have all the things here. This is, you know, maximum Melanie vibes for writing this novel. And then just going to skip through. There's spaces here for like to-do lists, shopping lists. There is a calendar layout for November, so you can mark off any dates when you actually come to write that you won't be writing. I don't think there is anything in November that will prevent me from doing so. We'll probably have a day out somewhere, but that'll be like one day out of the month, so that's not concerning. We've already gone through the sprint calculator and the rewards planner. There's also a meal planner in here. I already meal plan. I have menus 2 weeks in advance at all times because I cannot bear the question of what are we having for dinner. I hated having to deal with that as a child, and I solve this as an adult by just planning in advance. It also means I then know exactly what I am buying on our fortnightly shop. So this is not something that is an issue for me, but obviously if you're someone who's a bit more casual about what you eat and drink, this might be useful, so you can plan to make things that maybe you could have for leftovers, or things you could batch prep so that you're not stuck making dinner every night if you don't want to be doing that. Then we have the kind of ideas brainstorm section. The first 2 pages of this are very much aimed at someone who is maybe writing something completely different to what they've written before, or is writing their first book. It's very general questions like, what kind of genres do you like? What kind of TV and movies do you like? Obviously, this is all done for me. So we are going to skip forward. The next 2 sections are much more relevant. Who is the main point of view character in this story? This story is going to be Celeste's story. That's all I will say there. I don't want to give any more away. Celeste is basically one of Esme's BFFs, which you will find out pretty quickly from the book, so I don't really consider it much of a spoiler. And there are questions here about the tone of the story, side characters. The one that I really need to work on, what is the central conflict of this story? So I know what I want to happen in this story, but currently there's no conflict around it. So we're going to go and have this kind of experience, and this is going to happen. But obviously, even in cozy fantasy, as I've said, we need some conflict, even if it is minor. Currently, I don't have that. I've had 1 or 2 ideas, but I'm not quite sure if that is the right idea for the conflict in this story. So this is going to be very much, I'm going to need to think through it and decide what is going to happen that drives the story forward, because I know where it's going to start, possibly where it's going to end, but what is happening here, I'm not 100% sure. But this is Preptober Diaries. This is the whole point. There's just other questions like the setting, how is it going to start, and so on and so on. And then basically, once you have some ideas, you have the actual project outline here and things for writing scenes. So that is a large portion of this workbook that I have been taking you through. Now I actually need to get my thinking cap on and decide what is going to happen in Celeste's story. So let's see what happens. Okay, so that was a really good session for me. I have managed to drill down a lot more into what is actually going to happen in this book, and I have even made a lot of progress with the conflict. what I've done is to kind of separate the conflict out into kind of conflicts that the character is going to have internally, things that could happen externally to drive that. Basically, I've just kind of separated these ideas out into kind of threads, and obviously going to bring them all together into a more central conflict as I get a little bit further on in prepping this novel. So I feel really pleased with how much more I've managed to develop this idea. Obviously, I've got the whole month of October, and obviously every vlog for the month of October is going to be the Preptober Diaries, because I just thought that would be super fun and just cool to bring you along with me on this journey, I guess, especially while I'm not actively writing. It's just a different thing that I can share with you all. So in the next episode, I think I'll be leaning more towards at least beginning an outline for this next novel and sharing more of a reading update. And basically we're just going to keep plodding on for the next month until we have something that is a firm foundation and outline that I can work with going into November and actually writing this project. I think also in the next episode, I want to definitely do some updates to the story Bible. If anyone is interested in a video about the story Bible, how I've done it, a flick through of some of the pages, how I've done things like the kind of vellum inside pages and stuff. If anyone's interested, let me know, and I'll try to include some footage in one of the upcoming Thursday vlogs. But otherwise, thank you so much for watching. If this is your first video that you have stumbled across, I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, I'd love for you to hit the subscribe button down below. And I upload a vlog like this every Thursday and a kind of topic video every Tuesday. And yeah, thank you so much for watching. Have a wonderful rest of the day, and I will see you very soon.